he becomes a kind of very prominent figure. But after he remarries, his relationship, it was already in trouble with Zora. It really falls apart. And if you can believe it or not, his relationship with his favorite daughter, Sarah, after his remarriage, that relationship also falls apart, which is a big deal because they were so close. So Mr. Hurston is at Eatonville with his new wife, but he actually dies in a car accident. So Mr. Hurston didn't get to be, I would say, over 50. Mm-hmm. So he died as a fairly young man.
Yes? Oh, yes.
Do you guys think Mr. Hurston deserves to die?
In real life? I don't believe in the death penalty, and so I really don't think that anyone deserves to die. I think some people maybe deserve certain forms of punishment, but I think that death should be in God's hands, not human hands.
Yeah, but you're getting at, I think, something else, because what you're asking us is not necessarily did Mr. Hurston deserve to die for being not always the best dad to Zora, but you're asking us, do we think that Mr. Hurston was a bad father? That's what you're asking us.
You mean based on, because in our book we represent his relationship with Zora the way that it happened. They had a tough time together. So, yeah.
So I think I'll speak for both of us. Do we think that Mr. Hurston was the best father in the world? No. But was Mr. Hurston a man of his time? Yes. And he knew that he had this little feisty, rambunctious, little genius of a black girl. And I think he felt that the world was going to break her if he didn't break her first. Because I don't think he could have imagined that we would be talking about Zora Neale Hurston today. He thought that she was going to go out into the world and that she was going to be abused and that she was going to have very little chance, if any at all, of becoming the person she became because of segregation and also what the conditions were at the time for women. So I think Mr. Hurston thought that he was doing the job that the world was eventually going to get around to doing, which was putting Zora in her place.
I was just going to say one other thing. You know how sometimes something in life is hard, but it actually prepares you for something else in life? Being a woman writer at the time that Zora was a woman writer was actually very hard. And I think in part that experience with her father early on made her strong enough to stand up to her critics later in life. Does that make sense? So it was double-edged. She knew how to be tough when she needed to be, and in part that came from having a tough time with her own dad. Yes, in the back, all the way.
Do you know how old Zora was when her dad died?
How old was Zora?
I think she might have been, maybe, I think younger, maybe in her 20s, maybe her early 20s.
She has a biography right here. She's
Oh.
Zora died at the age of 69.
Or she did.
Oh,
We're thinking about her
dad.
dad. Does it say anything about when her dad died?
Yeah, I don't think it says it's there.
Yeah, but
It says when her mom died.
Yeah, 20s. I think Zora's in her 20s. Wait, okay.
What's
Black Vest, who hasn't spoken yet?
Is Zora's dad the person that she met in the I can't remember what it was, but he had he was singing.
Oh, that's Ivory.
Yeah.
No.
Is that her dad?
No, Zora's dad is her dad at home.
Yeah, Mr. Hurston.
And Carrie's dad is gone, right? So, and Ivory is the man that gets killed, right? You.
Why do Teddy love animals?
Why does Teddy love animals? Yes.
Because her name is Teddy?
Because his name is Teddy. Well, that's convenient. I thought about that. Yes, his name is Teddy. It's funny.
Yeah, well, Rick, you haven't said anything?
Yeah.
Because he works on the farm.
Yeah.
But does everybody works on the farm love animals? Yes, you.
Her dad, his dad kills animals.
Well, living on a farm means you have to kill animals sometimes, doesn't it? You kill the hogs to make pork, right? You kill the chickens, right? That's one of the things about a farm is that there are tons of animals, but they're also used the way animals are used, right? So what's going on? Yes.
Is it like, are the animals maybe like sacred to him?
What's going on? Who loves animals in this room? So what's going on? What's going on when you love animals? Just, yes.
Relationship.
Do you feel like you have a special relationship? Do you have an animal at home? What happens when you see animals? What? You adore them? Would you like to have an animal at home? If you could have any animal, what would you like to have? A dog? No. A cat? A lion? Oh.
Okay, well, let me ask you all this. Do you all remember Michael Vick's relationship to animals? Yeah, but what was Michael Vick's relationship to animals? What was he doing to them? He was hurting them, he was forcing them to fight each other, and when people found this out, people were horrified because sometimes how someone treats an animal says a lot about who they are on the inside. So the fact that Teddy is very loving and nurturing toward the animals says that he's very loving and nurturing himself. Because how you treat a defenseless creature, you know, a creature that can't talk, a creature that is bred to love you, that says a lot about you. So the fact that Teddy is so good with animals and has so much respect for them, that indicates that he's an A-OK person.
Yes.
Did Carrie have feelings with Teddy?
Does Carrie have feelings for Teddy?
What do
Is
you all
Carrie
think?
like, is Carrie sweet on Teddy?
Yeah. Well, that's something
No,
that...
they're not certain. Is
They're
it?
not.
Yes.
Because last time she said, all of a sudden I have feelings with Teddy. Last time in the book. So, I told her that.
What do you think Carrie's realizing?
Because in the book, on one part they said that one day, she wanted to Carrie, she wanted to just sit next, lay down next to Teddy and just relax. It's not like she likes him, but she just.
Well, they've been friends
Yes.
for a long time, right? And Carrie's starting to see other parts of Teddy because they're growing up. And she's seeing, I think, the part of him that loves animals, the part of him that can listen and be still and be quiet and actually take in things that are not being said, right? That's one of the things about Teddy is that you don't have to explain everything to him. Do you know people like that? They're really good listeners. You feel like they understand you. I think that's the kind of person, who said no? No?
We all feel like that sometimes too.
Well, that's maybe time to get a dog because there's a way that there's some people that make you feel good when you sit next to them. They make you feel calm. They make you feel like you're being seen. And they don't make you feel judged, right? Sometimes you get that from a teacher. Sometimes you get it from the person who's your best friend. Sometimes your mom, you know? You get that feeling of just being accepted. And I think that's one of the things Teddy can give. And that's why Zora and Carrie can be friends with him, because he has that special quality inside of himself. He's a beautiful person inside, right? Wait, yes, you. You have a hand up. You.
I wonder when I was reading the book, why did Teddy sneak to go save the pig?
Why did he sneak to go see the pigs?
Why?
Yes, you haven't said much. Yes.
Because he knew that his father would kill them, and that because they said that the pigs were wild, so his father would kill them.
were dangerous. You know,
Because
so
they got on the farm, yeah.
right. You know, so he didn't want the pigs to know that they were looking necessarily, or to feel comfortable having the kids watch, because the pigs, if they felt in danger, you know, especially with the little piglets, the mama pig might go crazy and, you know, try to attack them. So I think it said a lot that Teddy knew enough to make Carrie and Zora be quiet, but also that the mama Razorback had enough comfort and respect for Teddy that she knew that she could kind of trust him.
And also, Teddy wanted to share his inside world with Zora and Carrie, right? Because one of the things about Razorback pigs is that they're dangerous and people don't like having them around, so they would kill them if they were near their houses or farms. But what does Teddy see when he sees the Razorback? What does he see? Yes.
That they're very friendly and kind.
He sees the good in the Razorback, right? So we know that Teddy's the kind of person that wants to see the good more than the bad, right? Do you know different kinds of people like that? Do you know some people who they always want to see the bad? That even if the sun is shining, they find a way to say it's a bad day? Is it fun being around those people? Kind of brings you down, right? And you know some people that even when stuff is hard, they kind of put a positive spin on it. What does it feel like to be around those people? Feels good, right? So your world, right, your daily life can be impacted by the kinds of people you spend your time with, right? Is that true? If you spend your time with somebody who's always being negative, what ends up happening to the way you think? Yeah? Yes?
Negative, so they're like a bad influence.
That's right. People affect you, right? And so when you're around people who have like a good spirit, you start to feel good about yourself. Like one of the things I like about Vicki is that, you know, when we're working, she's somebody who feels that anything is possible. So she's like, we will meet this deadline. We will get this done. And I find that gives me like a charge. It's like somebody plugged me in the wall and my battery got charged up and I feel like, oh wow, we can do it. And you know, what if she said, oh Tanya, this is impossible. I can't, we can't do it. We're not smart enough. We're not good enough. How would I feel? Yes.
Just yell it out.
Yeah.
I
I would feel let down. I would feel like maybe we can't do it. It would pull me down, right? So when you go through life, challenge yourself to be positive and challenge yourself to be around people who bring you up. Always look for people who are bringing you up because life is hard, right? We don't need people bringing us down. Yes, question.
Like in the movie from like Cinderella, she said that it was impossible for her to have a dream and not make it come true. But her fairy godmother came and it was possible, and she realized that not only can you make a wish, but you can come true.
Do you need a fairy godmother to make a dream come true?
Because you can be your own fairy godmother. And as Tanya was just saying, you can have friends and people in your life that are constantly sprinkling a little fairy dust on you. Yeah, and that's what Tanya did when she shared her idea with me. Because Tanya didn't have to tell me her idea. She could have had it in her mind and started typing away. But instead, she wanted to share something. You know, so part of making something, you know, doing your homework, is being able to share yourself with yourself. And a lot of that means doing stuff you don't want to do. But that's the stuff you have to do in order to make your dreams come true. So you all need to think about sharing stuff that you like and that you think is valuable with the people that you love.
Oh,
See, like
right
someone
now,
is sharing some
sharing
love.
my self-value.
Yeah, Tanya.
Sorry about that.
So,
Do you guys have other questions?
whoa.
Yes! Oh my God! Okay! Yay! All right, wait. Okay, wait.
Hold on.
You.
Would you say it's more like Zora and more like Carrie?
Which one of us is more like Zora and which one of us is more like Carrie?
Well, this is funny because I think for a while when people would ask us this question, we would go back and forth and say, oh no, you're Zora. And then I would say, no, you're Zora. And we'd go back and forth until we finally came clean with each other and told each other who we felt like was really us in the book. So neither of us, I think, is really Carrie or Zora.
Yeah.
Tony, do you want to go first and tell them who your
I came clean and I
avatar
told her
is?
the person I am in the novel is Old Lady Bronson.
Yeah, and I'm Mr. Pendier. And everyone goes, I'm Pendier on the inside.
Yeah, and I'm Old Lady Bronson because I like having my roots and my herbs and healing and stuff. That's all. That's the stuff that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did she end up on the
Who?
Miss
Old Lady Bronson? I fell off.
Yeah.
I fell off that little. There's like a little like cliff, like very small, that juts out over the blue sink, which is a swimming hole. And I think I probably just got a little overheated and I just
Yeah,
slipped.
she probably was a little bit hot. I didn't push her though. I did not push her. Hold on, someone who hasn't said anything.
Who hasn't
Wait, have you
said
said
very much?
anything, Miss?
I haven't read it.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you guys know any other authors?
Do we what?
Do we know any other authors?
We do. We know a ton. We know a ton of other authors. And you know what's interesting about that? Is that because we knew so many other authors growing up, it allowed us to imagine ourselves as authors.
It's true.
You know, so yes, that actually, we've always loved to read and we've worked in publishing, and so we were always surrounded by, you know, writers, either in the forms of the books we read when we were younger, and then when we were older after we got to college, by writers themselves. So yes, you sir. Yes, holding your head.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't. It was kind of like she said, like, do you actually have any friends that are authors?
I can't hear you, sweetheart. It's because I'm going deaf, because I'm old, right? So,
Do you have any friends that are authors?
yes.
Each other.
Well, that's, yes, number one friend, each other, but, you know, our husbands are writers, other friends that we know are writers, some of our mentors have been writers, and artists. People who do photography. Vicky is a visual artist. She does multimedia paintings and sculptures. So we know people who make music. We know all kinds of artists. In fact, some of our favorite people in our lives are artists. Yes, we pirate.
How did Mr. Pendier die?
Oh, Mr. Pendier just died in his sleep.
Probably of a heart attack.
Yeah. But Mr. Pendier is turns into an interesting case of what happens to someone when they're not treated well by other people. But instead of turning into a mean person, someone who lashes out at other people, someone that just withdraws and goes in. And then how Mr. Pendier ends up expressing himself, and this is in part why I identify with him so closely, is that he expresses himself by making the objects, making art that comforts him. You know, he becomes his own fairy godmother, and he makes his own medicine, which are his art objects.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You, right there. No. You're turning your head. Yes, you. Yes. Have you spoken before? Tell us. Did you have your hand up?
No.
Who was it?
Okay.
With you. Yes. Who had their hand up there? Yes, you.
Hi.
If he died in his sleep, why did he have the mask on his face?
Well, sometimes don't people do things that comfort them right at bedtime?
Did any of you suck your thumbs when you were young? No, clearly none of you did. I know. Okay. But did you have a pillow maybe that you liked? Did you have a blanket that you liked? See, yeah. Well, you know, sometimes when people get, yes! Sometimes when we get older, We have other things that comfort us. And I think, what was Mr. Pendier doing in his free time at home before he died? Yes, sir.
It was hard in math
Why?
because he felt like the math, and he had to throw a variety of animals that they would scare away his fears.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what he felt. And so I think maybe, you know, he was a little lonely. He was a little bit hurt inside. You know, his life had been hard. And I think maybe when he lay down at night, he could have even been a little afraid of the dark. And so what did he put on his face? Something to, yeah, to say, boo, back to the monsters in the closet, right? Yeah, yes, sir.
Who did the illustration?
Who did the cover?
Well, that's it. I'm happy that you asked that because we are the authors of the book, but we don't have control around everything that goes on with the book, for example. And one of those things that we did not have control over is the cover of the book. So the illustrator, I know, it's surprising. His name is A.G. Ford, and we have never met him. So the publishing company, they decided who would do the illustration and what it would look like. And then they reveal it to us. So even when you're doing something like this and you manage to get published and it's really exciting, no one has all the control. You know, and that's part of collaborating with someone. I don't have control over what Tanya is doing on our work. She doesn't necessarily have control over what I'm doing. We put it together, the publisher then takes over, and that was one of the things that they decided on, which was the cover.
Yes.
If you get an opportunity, would you change the book into a movie?
We would love that opportunity.
We would like it, more than a movie even though, we'd like it to be a play with music. We would like it to be a musical. I think that if we had our dream, that would be our dream. Yes,
hold
in
on
the back.
Oh, okay. We're
The
coming
back,
to
you
you.
haven't said anything? Yes.
Are there going to be any characters in the book?
Oh,
In the
yes.
second book, yes.
Yes.
A new boy comes to town.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard a question earlier about whether Carrie has any feelings for Teddy. Well, in the second book, it's more about Teddy grappling with his feelings for Carrie and having another boy come in the picture that also likes Carrie.
Yeah. And also Stella Brazel, we get to know her a little bit better. Remember the Brazels?
Yeah.
Stella shows her truer colors in book 2.
Wait, hold on, let's...
Oh, look,
wait, hold
we
on,
have
wait,
some-
let's have this person.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Did Mr. Hurston's wife, did she marry someone else?
After, I don't know if the new Mrs. Hurston remarried after
Yeah,
Mr. Hurston.
I would say probably, knowing her character, yes.
And then, I think that, Zora think that Mr. Pender had a crocodile head because of the mask.
Yes.
Because she saw him standing on his porch with the mask on. That's how it started. And yes,
That concept of the King of the Gators, is that something you guys came up with, or is it rooted in some like Southern superstition?
well, there's always been this connection between black folks and gators in the South that's always just been paired together. So I think that was rattling around in our subconscious. But then I think, you know, as the story evolved, it made sense to take a quotidian animal, to take something that was around all the time and turn it into something frightening. And that opening scene with the gator wrestling, I think that came to you. Whose idea was that?
No, I think that was your idea.
We can never remember who thought of
Yeah,
it.
I think that was your idea.
but
That's too active. That was you.
oh, that was the foreshadowing. You know, the gator wrestling. You know, that's one of the things that people do in Florida to pass the time. So I think it kept growing from there. This idea of the gator, yeah.
And also, it's good to have a monster in the story. So that was a nice function of the